Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 171 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. So over this past month, we've received some great questions from our listeners. Things like, when should you start investing if you're still getting out of debt? If you get paid bi-weekly, what are some budgeting tips to help? And by the way, bi-weekly paychecks are pretty tough. We're going to talk about that one. What are feelings on combining finances if you're in a relationship? Ooh, that one can get a little testy. How to plan for holidays and celebrations, and how is what we do any different than any other debt payoff program? We're going to be talking all about these questions on today's show. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial security. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And as always, welcome to today's show. Remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links from today's show. You can head over to balancencents.com/171. That's BALANCEDCENTS.com/171. So I'm excited, guys. These are some great questions, and we've had some really good ones come over. We did a workshop as we're recording this about a week and a half. Well, that's a little over a week ago. And usually those bring some really good email questions, even getting questions on our actual live workshop that we do. And if you haven't participated in that, we do have a recording of it, and you can go to our website and check that out. But next time, join us live. They're a lot of fun. And so we're going to kick it off with the first question here. Brandon asks, and this is a pretty common question, I want to start investing, but I'm also still working my way out of debt. Should I start now or should I wait? This is a good one. What are your, I don't know, Ryan, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, we were in this boat. I mean, we had a lot of debt. We started saving for retirement kind of late, but what we did at the bare minimum, and I don't know this person's situation, but if you're working for a company, a lot of times they'll have a match. Sometimes they'll have a match for you. And so what we did is we just contributed at least the bare minimum to like at least take advantage of that match. And then that's all we did until we got out of debt. So it's hard because it's like, I don't know how much, when someone says I have a lot of debt, like if you have a lot of debt, like if you have like, if you have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on credit cards that are, 20, 30% interest, I might have different opinion, but just my general rule for us was like, we were able to invest a slight amount to take advantage of the match. And that's all we did until we got a debt. And then we bumped everything up after we were out of debt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's free money. I mean, it's essentially your salary you're losing out on if you're not putting in the match. Right. Yeah, I think I'm in mostly agreement with that, just as long as, the situation allows people to do that. In some situations, it's like they need every dime they can get from their paycheck to make it through. So in some situations, they can't even do the match. But if you can at least get the match, I think I'm totally on board with that for sure. Any thoughts with Amber?
Well, we stuck with because my husband had a match with his work, so we left that alone. We didn't touch it. But our personal, we had a personal going into retirement savings, and we decided to stop it altogether and just really tackle our debt. And we knew though that we would be paying it off with less than 2 years. So yeah, we made that decision, and then now we can invest even more now that we're debt free. So
yeah,
and for us, my wife did have a match. I did not have a match, but we were up against a timetable where we had to get X number of dollars by X date to pay off a really big debt. And so we made the decision to not invest, even though there was a match, and even though it would have saved us some in tax money, because we needed every dollar that we could get. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I think you have to look at your particular situation. For me, it was worth not investing for a couple of years to get completely out of debt so that I could invest a tremendous amount after that.
Yeah, for sure. We were the same way. I did not invest while we were getting out of debt. I didn't get a match at the company, so I just turned that off and just focused on getting out of debt. One thing that you can also look at it too is that, when it comes to investing, there's no guarantee on the return that you're ever going to get. But if you're paying like a 20% credit card or a 29.99% credit card, that's guaranteed money back in your pocket once that credit card is paid off, because right now you're paying heavy interest on that stuff. So you're not technically investing, but you're investing in a way by getting that money back, which is allowing you to use your income in the future to start investing and using compound interest in your favor, as opposed to it's being used against you when you're using credit cards. So that's the way you want to kind of look at it, is that, you're paying these high interest, credit cards. It's hard for the market to do a return on that regularly every single year. Like, it's probably not going to happen, right? But when it comes to paying off the high interest credit cards, it's guaranteed return on your money that you're going to get that back. So focus heavily on the debt. And if you can afford to do a little bit of savings, I think that's totally okay. Next question is Sabrina. She says, I get paid bi-weekly, and that makes budgeting hard and confusing. And I got to say, the bi-weekly paychecks are probably the group of people that I get the most questions from in regards to budgeting. But they're asking for any tips to help. So, Chris, what you got? What you have on this one?
Well, my wife and I, we've been paid bi-weekly for many, many years. So for those of you in the audience out there who are not sure what we're talking about, when it comes to budgeting, it's always nice to have one number every month that you can use as your starting point. This is how much money that we have to allocate for all the different items in our budget. Obviously, if you get paid once a month, which when I was a public school teacher, we got paid one paycheck a month. You knew what that dollar amount was. You knew which day you were going to get paid. And it's sort of the easiest method to budget, but it's the hardest at the same time, because you had to make the money last for a whole month. A lot of people get paid twice a month, first 15th of the month or 15th and the 30th. Well, every month you're getting two paychecks. Add those two together, that's your income amount that you have to allocate in your budget. Where things get a little tricky is what we're talking about with bi-weekly, or if you get paid every week, which was not the question here, but I'll go ahead and address that as well. If you get paid every 2 weeks, that is not 24 paychecks a year, but rather 26 paychecks. So there are 10 months that you're going to get two paychecks, and then 2 months you're going to get three. And everybody goes, oh, no, what do I do? Well, if you get paid every week, you've got 8 months you're getting four paychecks, and you've got four months getting five. I know that's a lot of numbers there, but the point is, not every month has the same number of paychecks. So here's what we do. And this is what I've taught people to do, and it will significantly simplify things. Imagine that you get paid twice a month. If you imagine that you get paid twice a month, well, you would be getting two paychecks every month. Add those two numbers together. And this is, by the way, assuming, Brad, that everybody, that in this case, Sabrina gets paid the same amount every paycheck. If you're on a commission, it's a totally different answer.
Right.
But pretend that you get two paychecks a month. Add them two together, and that's what you budget all 12 months. And then those 2 months when you get an extra paycheck, it's not free money, you work for it, right? But what you can do then is you can say, I'm going to take all of that check, and I'm going to allocate it towards getting out of debt or a bigger emergency fund, whatever it is that the next thing on your list that you're trying to work through is. And that way, now every month, I am budgeting on two paychecks. Allocate one is, say, at the beginning of the month, the next one to the middle of the month, if that helps you. And just sort of forget about that extra paycheck twice a year. Now, you still want to budget for it when it comes. When those times come, what am I going to do with it? Have a plan. But now, by pretending as if you get paid twice a month, you've got one number. Does that sort of make sense, Brad?
Yeah, for sure.
One number to budget from.
Yep, for sure. And I think the one thing I would definitely add is where I think it gets confusing for a lot of people is that you're talking about monthly. So you're talking about the first of the month to the last of the month, whether that's the 28th, the 30th, or the 31st. And what I think people get confused on is that last paycheck that you get of that month, you need to be aware of the cash flow of the beginning of the next month, because that needs to float you through, right? And I think that's where that third paycheck can get a little dicey, because it usually lands on that 29, 30, or 31st of the month. And now you're not going to get another paycheck until almost the middle of the next month. So what you want to make sure you're careful of is that when you're doing the biweekly system is that you have a calendar, you have something that shows your cash flow, what bills are coming out, when the money's coming in. So that way you make sure that you're not, because I've done this before because I used to get paid biweekly. Sometimes you could take too much money out of that last paycheck and all of a sudden you've shorted yourself now the beginning of the next month until you get that next paycheck. So I like the visual side of it. Very much like what Chris said, I think it's perfect, but having like a calendar system. That's why we have the Debt Freedom Planner, has a full calendar in it where you actually lay out everything. You do it digitally if you want, do it on the free calendars, whatever on your computer, but just something that you can visually see how much money you need to get to that next paycheck the beginning of the next month, because that's where I see a lot of people kind of getting tripped up a little bit.
So I do the same thing at the beginning of the year, actually before the year begins. I'll go through the calendar and I will list out every one of those pay dates for me and then also for my wife. And I will designate anything that is on the 1st, the 31st, the 30th, the 29th as sort of the beginning of the month, like you're talking about, Brad.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to use that money to pay the mortgage and anything else that comes up in the first, say, 12, 13, 14 days. And then I will designate the second one of that month for most months as sort of my middle of the month to get me through. And then every now and then I've got two that are listed as E, extra. And that way I know ahead of time when they're coming and what I'm going to do with it. And I think for a lot of people, some people listening to this, Brad, are probably realizing this for the first time. Well, wait a minute. I get 2 extra paychecks a year? Never thought of it that way.
Right.
And sometimes just being aware of it means now you can plan for it and you can start to think about it. And I think that will help tremendously as well. But I would say this to Sabrina, don't panic over it. It's actually can be a great thing once you get your head around it, when you learn to use it in the right way. You're going to find that it's going to help you pay off some debt and do some of those other things you're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah. The other tip I'll throw on here too is that if you're getting paid, and this goes for anybody, no matter what your pay periods are, is that by putting all of your expenses in a calendar of when they're going to come out allows you to see visually bottlenecks that are in your cash flow. So for instance, if you're really heavy on the first part of the month and you're really light on the second part of the month, you could also use the strategy of calling your creditors, people you owe money to, your utility bills. A lot of them give you different options for different pay dates. So if you're feeling stressed at a certain period of the month, every single month, well, maybe it's just changing some of those due dates around just a little bit. That way you're not so heavy certain periods, right? That way the stress isn't nearly as much. So that can help. That can be helpful too. All right. Val asks, I'm getting a large bonus from work. Good for you, Val. I have a smaller savings for my emergency fund, and I also have some debts to pay off. The bonus check would knock out several of my smaller debts, but I also am considering a higher one that has a higher interest rate. So do I use the money to pay off debt? If so, which? Do I focus on the smaller one she's asking, or do I focus on the one with the higher interest rate? Or another option is, should I stash this money away with the way that the economy is and not pay off any debt? This is a good one. Who wants to take the first stab at this one?
So Val, this is one of those questions that, we have to be careful of. Brad, you understand the term drive-by answer. As a financial coach, we're always reluctant to give generic answers without knowing somebody's particular financial situation. So without knowing yours, I would just say, trust the process that Brad has laid out. If you feel like you need a little bit more in your emergency fund, by all means, add it to it.
I think the one thing I would add to this is that I mean, just in this, the longer question, there's definitely fear in that last part, and so for me, when I sense that from somebody, it's like, look, there is nothing wrong with being patient and just putting the money away for right now, just for a little while. You can always use it to pay off the debt that you have planned anyways. But if you have this fear and that fear is causing you stress and overwhelm, just wait. Just give it a month, maybe give it 2 months, or however long you need to let that fear pass. Because it could be something that you heard a friend say, or it could be something you heard on the news, or it could be, then all of a sudden, time goes by and it's like that fear no longer really exists as much as it did when you first heard about it, right? So give it time. Just put that money in your savings and then, go ahead and look at the debts. The other thing I would consider too is just, obviously, following the process that we teach is obviously a general rule of thumb, focusing on using the debt snowball, building the emergency fund first. But, you can also look at cash flow. Is your monthly cash flow stressful? If so, you could focus on maybe higher minimum payments. And then also, the interest rate one is an interesting question, because there are times when a lump sum of money comes in where it can make sense to pay off a higher interest debt versus using the debt snowball. So kind of like what Chris said, we need more information, but those are the things that I think at least I would look at if I was in your shoes, for sure.
And like the only thing I would add to this, just because I know how I was especially when I was getting out of debt early, is I totally understand the fear, but I probably wasn't disciplined enough to like put the money away and not touch it.
Yeah, that's the other part.
So like that would just be the other thing. Like if you are disciplined enough to say, hey, I'm fearful and I want to hold on to it, that's awesome. But just make sure that you are truly disciplined, or put it somewhere where it's hard to get to. Because I know for me, especially early in my getting out of debt days, like if I would have said, hey, I've got this extra money, we're just going to put it away just in case, chances are I'd have had a new couch or something that I really didn't need, just because I just wasn't disciplined enough with it yet.
Right.
So,
right.
That's a good point.
All right. Shannon asks, one of my biggest downfalls in spending is gifting. With the holidays like Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation parties, and birthdays approaching, how do you make it special for the person being celebrated without it breaking the bank?
I love this.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Because I don't like stuff, and I don't like giving people extra stuff. And I don't think that's necessarily all that the gift giving process has to be.
Right.
It can be, an experience with that person. It can be something you hand make, or something is special to that person. And I think if you think more about the gift versus just going out and buying something from a store, they're going to treasure that way more than anything you're going to buy on a shelf.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting? You guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the 5 love languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And gift giving is one of them. But isn't it amazing?
Definitely.
And isn't it amazing though that we bring gifts for everything, and there are actually people who genuinely just don't like to receive gifts?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that weird? Like, I'm one of them. I'm not a gift. I'm not going to like hate you if you give me something, but I don't like, that's not how I don't feel loved when I get stuff. In fact, quite honestly, it stresses me out because then I got to figure out a way to put it, place to put it all, right?
So knowing your person you're gifting to is a really,
oh my gosh, so
good
important.
way to, yeah,
especially if you're talking about people who are close to you, like moms, dads, people you're celebrating graduation stuff with. I mean, they may not even be interested in gifts. They might be just spending time with them. Like you did something, Amber, with your dad. What did you did?
Yeah, we're still doing it, you guys. Like we did. I gave him basically like a coupon book almost, but I left spot for a photo. So every time we do something, and it's just activities, like if we go fishing, we take a picture, and he puts it in this little album, and then he writes about our date basically. And we're still doing it, and we're just adding on to it.
That is so cute.
Yeah. But he buys what he needs. He doesn't need anything. He never wants anything. So I had to figure out something, and he absolutely loves it. Like he gets giddy. Like he's like, do I have the picture yet? Cause I'll print the pictures for him. Do you have the picture yet? Is it ready yet? Can I come get the picture? Like he is so happy about this gift.
I would say that Mother's Days, Father's Days, birthdays come every year. Graduation parties, not so much. So maybe budget for the graduation parties if you've got some of those. Mm-hmm. The others, skip for a year or two. Tell the person while you're doing it, and when you're out of debt, you can make it up for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and look at sinking funds too, which is just a technical term for having a savings goal, and you just break it down into little monthly amounts, and you just put that money away. So as you're building up to it and working towards it, sinking funds and saving up for that stuff is an easy way to take some of that stress off.
Yeah, I would say too, just to kind of go to what Chris said, I think you may find if you tell people why you're doing it, you may have people go, oh, thank you. Like, I don't like you cause people, like if you give me something, let's just say you give me something for $50 or we're in this thing, then it's like, there's this obligation. You start to feel like, well, they spent this, so I have to spend this. And sometimes like, if you like come out and say that, like, hey, we're really trying to get our finances, or we're going to like really scale back. You might have those people actually maybe not say it to you, but maybe when they're done, they're going to be like, thank goodness I don't have to spend this money anymore. Cause they might be feeling it too. And they might be feeling the exact same way you're feeling, but they don't want to say anything either. So I know we found that is like when we would say like, we're good. We don't need to like, I don't need to give you a $50 Home Depot card so you can give me a $50 Lowe's card. Like, how about we just like, it just kind of seems counterproductive at this point.
I was just going to say that. It's so funny when you do that. You spend all that, like, oh, we're going to get a gift card. And then they just give you the same amount back. Like, gee whiz.
Now, Brad, I will say this in response to something you said, which is not really addressing the question. You know, there's a lot of joy in giving, correct?
Yeah.
When you have the
Yeah,
ability
absolutely.
to do so. Well, if the person you're trying to give to does not receive, they have robbed you of the ability to give, and therefore they have robbed you of the joy of being able to give. So, yes, I understand that sometimes it's uncomfortable to receive, and sometimes you feel like, no, I don't need it or I don't want it. But I've always tried to look at it where I don't want to rob them of that opportunity of giving. So just think about it that way.
Yeah. Love that. All right. Andy asks, I'm so torn. I've been putting extra in my savings and I really want to go on vacation, but at the same time, this money could be used to pay down some of my debts quicker. How do you balance living and getting out of debt? I just feel guilty going on vacation when I know it could be used to get out of debt, but I really want to go on this trip. Thoughts? Oh, man.
Well, what's your why? We always come back to that, right, Brad?
For sure.
What's your why? What's the most important thing in your life? Is going on vacation the most important thing, or is getting out of debt? If getting out of debt is the most important thing in your life, get out of debt and don't feel guilty about not going on vacation.
I'm all about the fun. Go on the vacation. But we slowed down our debt. We slowed down paying off our debt because we were like almost running ourselves ragged. Like we were just like, oh my gosh, we're not having any fun anymore. Like nothing's happening in our life. So we actually slowed down and we did take a trip and we did go to a couple of concerts and we just gave ourselves permission to be okay with that and push our debt free date further back. And honestly, I think we were better for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, kind of like what we said for one of the other questions, I don't think there's a right or a wrong here. I really don't. I mean, I think it kind of comes down to just your personal preference. And like Chris said, your why. I mean, when I was getting out of debt, I mean, I sacrificed everything. I mean, I can't say that that's the right way to do it though, because I will admit that I self-sabotaged a lot because I sacrificed too much, but also being where I'm at today and, you know, losing my wife several months ago, man, if you want to go on the trip, just go on the trip, man. Like, you know, time is something you don't ever get back. So if you're feeling the pull to go, I mean, the debt will be there when you get back and you can just pay it off. But
and I mean, he says he's been saving.
Right.
So
right. Exactly.
If you've been saving for this, you know, you've been planning this.
Right.
You could give yourself some grace here.
But, you know, then there's that Debt Free Dad podcast that gets in people's ear and they're like, well, maybe I should be paying off the debt. Right.
So what he's not clear on here is what is he putting the money in savings for?
Right.
Amber, you're absolutely correct. If the budget has been vacation money and that's what the money is going for, then go on vacation. I get that. Mm-hmm. But if it's just for something else, for just extra money to have in savings, and it really wasn't intended to go on vacation, and there's that conflict going on, I vote pay off the debt. But you're right. If the money's purpose is for vacation, then yes, you have to balance life and getting out of debt. And you're in that case, Brad, you're right. There's no right or wrong answer to it.
Right. All right. Our next question is anonymous. And we actually got this in one of our live workshops just about a week and a half ago. And the question is, what are your feelings on shared bank accounts? So who wants to take this one first?
I'll give you a quick answer. This is my thoughts, and I don't mean to offend anybody.
I'm already offended.
If you're gonna share a bedroom with somebody, why not share a bank account?
Ooh.
There's two sides to that.
Yes, here we go.
I mean, my husband and I, we share bank accounts. Like that's totally fine. We have our own separate kind of little savings accounts, but we've always had a shared bank account. But I have also seen people who have gambling problems and other issues, and that's just a dangerous situation. So I think it's going to depend on the couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would agree. I think it just kind of man, because I've seen so many different situations like this, and for some people, a shared bank account works great. In fact, I was next week we're having a whole episode on when to have money conversations in a relationship. Like, how soon should you start having them? And I was doing a little bit of research just on statistics on money and relationships, and one of them came up. And I want to say, I don't have it in front of me, so don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was over 50% of people prefer having a shared bank account versus having separate bank accounts. Might even be more. It might even be up in the 60%, which I thought was pretty surprising this day and age.
It's more convenient.
Yeah. But I think you have to be careful based on the relationship, though, for sure. There's no question. I mean, there are people who I generally work with where the one partner is completely irresponsible with money, and has messed up things really badly, and they've been given opportunities and chances to correct that, and they don't. I question why they are still together. But
hence why they're sharing the same bedroom.
Yeah, right. So I just in some situations it may make sense to keep them separate, but ideally, I think keeping them together, I think is a goal. I think at the end of the day, though, it just has to work for the couple. There are couples that I've worked with who have completely separate bank accounts, and it works great. They have no issues. They have no problems, no challenges whatsoever. And there are people who do them together, and it's the same thing. I think it just kind of comes down to making sure that the two of you are on the same page when it comes to your financial goals and, what you guys are looking at achieving. One thing I would say is that if you are not legally married, I would not do combined finances. I would not do that because I've seen some pretty messy situations with that. Legally, it's just not a good idea. So I would definitely keep them separate if you're not legally married. I've just seen some yucky stuff. So,
and I 100% agree with that. My assumption was married. I probably shouldn't have assumed that, but yeah, I agree with that.
Any other comments on this one? All right, cool. All right. We had one more anonymous question, and this was also in a workshop, and I like this one. In fact, I really enjoyed it during the workshop. It says, I'm afraid this is another get out of debt free ploy, and I am only supplementing an entrepreneur on his dreams of living financially independent. What makes this program different from the others that are promoting healthier financial habits? And I love this question. I loved how honest it was. It was not rude. It was not mean. It was just, I actually liked the way that this was asked. And I appreciated this person. By the way, this person did join us in Roots, which I thought was pretty awesome too. But here's what I want to kind of compare it to. So these last, 9-10 weeks or so, I started working out at this new gym. It's called Burn Boot Camp. And they're a franchise. They're across the United States. And every day you go to this, it's already a planned workout. That's what I love about it. You don't have to plan it yourself. Like, there's a trainer there you get every time. They have the set workouts that you're going to do when you get there, and they show you how to do them. They kind of cheer you on throughout the workouts, and it's great. I love it. It's just, I don't have to think about it. I just go, I get the workout in, and I leave. But you get a different trainer every single day. And I got to say, I like all the trainers, but some of them I like a lot more than others. And it's not because the other people are bad people. It's just that they connect with you in a different way, and I think when it comes to getting motivated and wanting to work harder, it's important that you connect with a coach or someone or a group of people. It could be a community. It could be a Facebook group. It could be anybody, anyone that you want to achieve a goal with. It's important to surround yourself with people that are going to push you there, because I will say I work out harder when some of my favorite trainers are there, because they just have a way of pulling something out of you that the other people don't. And again, they're all good. It's not like I get a worse workout. It's just, you're willing to give a little bit more, right? It just feels different. And I think that's kind of what we do here, is that, number one, we're a very, very small company compared to some of these other, big places that are out there. Dave Ramsey, right? Susie Orman. Ramit Sethi is another one that's kind of up and coming. He just came out with a new Netflix series, which, by the way, I haven't watched. It's like 8 or 10 episodes on financial independence and getting your debt under control. And at the end of the day, all of us are teaching good financial health, good financial behaviors. A lot of the the stuff you have to do is the same. It's not much different. It's just that we're teaching it in a way that's helped us, and we're teaching it from just a normal person's perspective. We're not, driving fancy cars and living in mini mansions and like speaking from this ivory tower followed by, 1,000 employees behind us. You're looking at it right now if you're on YouTube. This is it, right? And so I think for some people, there's an attraction to that this is really possible, that you can actually live a life with less financial stress. Look at all these normal people, not only, Brad and Amber and Chris and Ryan and Katie, but there's other people that we've had on this show, normal, everyday, hardworking people that have decided to just take this information that we're talking about and put it to work in their lives, and it's completely transformed their finances and their lives as a whole. And so, a lot of people have come to us and said, I like what you guys are doing because you guys make it actually seem like it's possible. Because when you're listening to some of these bigger people, these huge authors, New York Times bestsellers, and it's just like, it's like blah, 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 blah. They don't get me. They don't understand me. They don't have to live like I do. Well, we all do, right? And so I think from our perspective, that's what we wanted to show people is here at Debt Free Dad, is that we are normal people. We're not making these huge salaries here. We're normal people, and we've had success with getting out of debt. And we believe you can too. And I think that's what separates us from other people that are out there, is just the way that we're going about teaching it and sharing it, and really just the support and accountability in doing it.
Yeah,
I would agree. I thought this was a great question as well. And the key thing here is, Brad, you do not teach get out of debt free. There's nothing free. There's nothing easy about what you're asking people to do. You're asking people to look themselves in the mirror, put down on paper exactly where they are, which is frightening for most people, and then to create a plan that is following a process that is going to help them get themselves out of debt. You don't have a magic pill. You don't have anything easy. You're not promoting stop paying your debt and wait for the credit card companies to call and settle. You're not promoting bankruptcy. So there's nothing that's, get out of debt free about what you're teaching and what you're sharing. And I think you hit the nail on the head. The most important thing is the accountability and the community. Listen to what other people who have done this program, who are in this program, have been able to accomplish, and jump in there with both feet. And I'm glad to hear that the person who asked this question decided to join. They will not regret it if they will work it.
So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about debt, baby. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about debt. Let's talk about debt.
And that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. First, we have Amanda Lepek. Husband bought me a new hunting rifle. He got an awesome deal at a gun show, no tax event. He got it for $460 and he paid cash. Whoop, whoop, no credit cards.
That is awesome. Way to go, Amanda. Congratulations. Samantha Hubbs, I paid down my third credit card since joining the program a few months ago. They are small, but has been stressing me out. And I'm sure you are feeling a lot less stress now getting rid of those. Samantha, congratulations. Great job.
And Jess Gold joined Roots and started working on the budget and completed the debt snowball worksheet. Good job.
Yeah, awesome job.
Jennifer Foster paid off another credit card, 2 left to be paid. I think I will indeed get them paid before my 60th birthday at the end of June. My goal has been debt-free by 60.
Yeah, and that is incredible. I'm super excited for her. She is a very fun person to talk to, and just how far she's come since she's joined. So awesome job, Jennifer. And congratulations to all of you guys who are working so hard at reaching financial freedom. And if you're just getting started with our podcast, or maybe you've been listening for some time and you're interested on how you can get started on the road to financial freedom, go visit our website at balancesense.com. Sign up for my free Life Without Payments workshop, where I'm actually going to show you the first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Brad Nelson Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit balancedsense.com. That's balanced sense, CENTS.com. Catch you next week.